Welcome to the Been There Doing That podcast. I'm Robert Scrivener.
And I'm Gayla Scrivener.
We left the 9-to-5 grind, downsized, and our goal is to have freedom to live and to work from just about anywhere.
We are so glad that you joined us for the Been There Doing That podcast.
Yes, we are. Boy, are we excited.
We are. We are getting ready to go to Overland Expo East, and we have just realized how quickly September has gone by.
It has been a whirlwind.
It has been. And we have just gotten back from a weekend of
A flurry of activities.
You had 2 gigs, one Friday night and one Saturday night.
Yeah, one of them was in Dixon, Missouri at the Dixon Cow Days.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
That was fun. I've played it several years in a row, too, actually. And then had a wedding private party up in near Owensville, Missouri.
Saw our good friends Wesley Allen, Wilfong,
And Tanya.
and Tanya is official.
It's officially Tanya now.
Well, it's always been Tanya, but Wesley calls her Tanya. But long story, but they're good friends that you play with his band, the band Special 20.
Yeah, good time.
Good times, and I ended up recording some of that on our nice little Zoom recorder that we do our podcast with. That's kind of fun. We're hanging out at our RV, and you might hear in the background our dogs. They've missed us for the last few days. Our parents have taken care of them, so you might hear some things in the background.
Yeah, they're just happy to see us.
Exactly. But we were up in the Dixon and Owensville, Missouri area all weekend, and we got back, and we realized, hey, we need to get ready for Overland Expo because
We're leaving in like a week.
we're leaving in a week, but there's so much to do before we leave. And we've done so much already because we needed to prepare our vehicle and get some,
Double check everything.
double
make sure.
check, yeah. And make sure that everything's working properly and that we're prepared for our couple of week trip. And one of the first things we did a couple of weeks ago was rotate and move forward our rooftop tent on the Jeep.
Yes, we had it coming off. The ladder was coming off the back, and it was nice, and it worked. And to rotate it, we needed crossbars.
Yeah, that's why we originally, when we moved it from the Subaru to the Jeep, we just didn't bother with the crossbars, and we just had it come off the back.
So we just rotated it where it came off the back, and that worked fine for several trips. And we wanted it to come off to the side. That way we could put our annex room on there.
Yes, I love the annex room, and especially for staying at a place for quite some time, which 3 days is not quite some time, but...
Hey, gives you extra room to set up more inside living space.
Exactly. And one of the biggest challenges that we have when we're traveling and on our workcations, because that's what we call them, our workcations.
We still got to make money as we're working.
Yeah, and the biggest challenge that we have is the reflection. And my computer is worse than Robert's, but the reflection that the screen gives. I love to sit out on a picnic table and just be able to work, but sometimes I can't work that efficiently because the reflections are so horrible. And I like to set up office in the annex room.
Mm-hmm.
It helps so much.
Keeps the sun off so reflection's not so bad.
Yeah, and the mesh, the black mesh screens, it's perfect to get flow-through ventilation and still feel like you're outside, but just get a whole bunch of work done, and then you can just set up office and come and go. So that's the reason why it was so important for me to have the annex room, because I get so frustrated when I can't see.
It's just more inside living space, I guess, when you're parked for several days to get out of the elements
Mm-hmm.
and be able to stand up in instead of, sitting down hunched over in a tent.
Well, who knows what the elements are going to be, too.
That's true. Last couple of years, they've had hurricanes and lots of rain.
Yeah, there were hurricanes on the East Coast, and then those big clouds just had a downpour in Asheville, North Carolina, and that's where we're going. And who knows? It may be dry. It may rain, but if it's pouring down rain, it'd be nice to be able to have a little bit more room to move around in. And so that's why we had the annex room.
That's right. And we also bought rain gear.
Yes.
Just in case it does rain.
Exactly, because we didn't have very good rain gear.
No, never really bothered with it until this. Let's see, for 40 years, I've never really had rain gear.
Well, we are volunteering at Overland Expo, and they suggest to dress for all the elements, whether it's going to be hot, windy, cold, rainy. And since we're volunteering and part of our duties will have to be out and about and we can't just let the rain stop us, we got our rain gear. So, another thing that we did on top of the Jeep,
Yes.
I wanted to take the annex room. I really wanted to take it, but I also didn't want to have it take up too much space inside of the Jeep.
That's right.
And I concocted this plan. I just visualized that we could have some sort of storage box that's like an underbed storage container,
For the annex room.
Yes, and just put the annex room in there and set it on top of the in the empty space.
Not have it taking up space inside the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And then you could put the solar panel on.
Yeah.
And you had your doubts that the annex room would fit.
But we found one.
And you also had your doubts of how long they come and if they would be able to fit across the, what is that called?
The bars for the roof rack.
The roof rack, yeah. But we found
not
one.
the crossbars, but the bars for the roof rack.
Yeah. The ones that go front to back.
Yep.
And we found, I think it was a Rubbermaid one, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
And so that was fantastic. It was clear, though, and you didn't like that, so you spray painted it black.
Flat black.
Flat black. And then how did you attach it to the roof rack?
I took the Dremel tool, put 2 slots on each corner, so 2, 4, 6, 8 slots in it. Ran 2.5-inch radiator hose clamped up through that and attached it to the not the crossbars, but the bars on the
roof rack. It worked well, didn't it?
It is sturdy.
It is sturdy. And just to make sure the lid stays where it needs to be, we put some ratcheting straps across it.
Pair of them.
And then on top of that, sitting on top of that is our solar panel.
Kind of as a protective lid.
Yes, but we needed to have
it's functional.
The solar panel up there so that going down the road our extra batteries are charging. So I'm super pleased with that
You're
setup.
happy. I'm really happy.
I know. So you should be really happy.
Oh, I'm
really happy. And I like it when a plan comes together.
Hey, I just followed through. You
made it happen.
You made it happen.
You made my vision happen.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, you've been kind of doing maintenance on the Jeep.
Yes, I have. Just, make sure looking everything over, keeping stuff in tip-top shape, I guess. Not always, but try to.
Well, we were well overdue for an oil change because we've been traveling so much.
It's hard to keep up with that, and I like to do them myself.
Yes. And we definitely knew we had to do an oil change before we left for this trip. So you did that. And you checked all the fluids?
All the other fluids in there. Differential fluid, radiator fluid, transmission fluid, power steering fluid.
But for the last, I don't know, few months, when it's gotten really, really hot and the Jeep maybe going up an incline and stuff, it acts funny.
Yeah, it's like a miss.
Yeah.
It's not firing on all cylinders.
Sometimes I don't either.
Well, temperature is actually fine. The coolant temperature in the radiator. It's building up heat around cylinder 3 and 4. So they say, that's what I've been reading, causing a vapor locking issue.
What is vapor locking?
It is where it's so hot it's vaporizing the fuel before it gets in there where it needs to be.
And so therefore it's not firing properly.
And it misses.
Okay. Well, I know one time I was using the Jeep and it happens in town driving as well.
Stop and go hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was driving in town and going to pick you up from somewhere, and it just did not want to run. It was so rough, and I got on an exit ramp
to get
in
on
Springfield.
a highway.
Yes, and I didn't know if I could turn on that exit ramp, and so I just shut it off. And obviously, I was on the shoulder.
That was the first time it really, really happened.
Yeah, and I was kind of nervous. I was really nervous, kind of almost panicked, but I called you, and our good friend and I guess cousin, Chris, had taken you to me instead of me going to you.
Brought Muhammad to the mountain.
Yes. And by the time that you got there, it had cooled down enough. Because that's not what has to happen. You have to let the engine cool down so that vapor locking stuff doesn't happen.
Yep. That's it. And
then we were able to move a little bit forward. But that trip, it was slow because we had to stop several times, if memory serves. So it's been vapor locking for the past few months. And you had thought that maybe changing the fuel pump might help? How come?
Keeping the pressure up in there, so it's still had the original fuel pump in it from 1998.
Oh, so that's well over what?
Almost 200,000 miles on it.
Yeah, so it wouldn't hurt to have.
It's kind of preventative maintenance. It was still pumping. It was still fine. Still worked. Just did not want it to go out on this trip, and couldn't fix the vapor locking issue. Enough pressure in there pushes it down in there before it vaporizes the fuel. But evidently that still hasn't worked.
No, we had our friends at Stewart's Auto in Springfield, off historic Commercial Street, do the fuel pump, and we were hoping that it would fix the problem. But we've had some pretty hot days lately, and even just this weekend, wasn't it on Friday when we went to Dixon that we were going up a long hill, and it was over 95 outside, and it started sputtering. Sputtering
again. It did it. But when we went to Tennessee last time, it was we used premium fuel the whole trip and Lucas fuel treatment. And didn't have but one problem on the way there and back.
Yeah.
So it was 95 plus.
And the temperature is getting cooler.
It is.
And we're going out east.
In the fall time. So you're going to, but since it's still vapor locking, you had said that you're going to this week before we go do some sort of plate? Heat shield.
What's that all about?
Keep the heat away from where it needs to not be yet.
Well, how are you going to make a heat shield?
Drill a couple of holes, bend it over, and make sure.
Bend what over?
The metal.
Oh, yeah. You have a metal plate.
A metal plate, yeah. Just the shield. I'm gonna bend it over and attach it there. Between cylinder number 3 and 4, right above the exhaust manifold.
I know what the exhaust manifold is.
Yeah, you've helped me replace several of them.
Yeah, it keeps cracking.
It does. We'll see how long this one lasts.
So far, so good.
Yes.
That's something that you are very experienced in
Yeah.
fixing.
I did not want to do it the last 4 times.
Well, when we driving around, a week or 2 ago, there was a different noise going on. What? There was a vibration or something.
No, it was just a new noise. Right after the fuel pump, it was a new noise.
What'd you figure out?
Power steering pump. The power steering pump.
What does that do?
Gives you power for steering.
All right.
It's the pump that runs the fluid down through there, so you can have nice, easy steering instead of.
Was the steering not working very well?
It was working perfect.
Well, you know what? I didn't realize if it would steer or not steer right, because I hardly ever drive the Jeep.
I know. I drive you everywhere.
You do. Crazy sometimes.
We should have named this podcast Driving Miss Gayla.
Driving Miss Gayla.
But it was making a funny noise, so I took a long screwdriver and put it on the pump and with the engine running, and you could hear it. It's kind of like a stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say.
Yes.
And so it was making noise, and the bearings in there sound like they were just shot. So I said, let's change it before we go. Don't want to have to do it on the side of the road.
How hard of a job was that?
It took longer to get parts than it did to change it.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It took about an hour, if that.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy. I didn't help you at all on
No.
that. And goodness, what else have you done? Oh, you were checking brakes and the front end
checking all
and
the
all
brakes,
of that, going
tires,
underneath.
shocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what did you have been not complaining, but you have been
It's been on the to-do list for a while.
a long time. Springs and
New springs and new shocks all the way around.
and we've just been procrastinating.
Yes, the ones that are on there now has been on there since 2004, maybe early 2005.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of rusty from being in Florida.
Florida and stuff like that, yeah. I stuck them on there. I did the lift on it. Me and buddy Chris White lives down in Arkansas now, yeah. And didn't take long to do it, this 3-inch lift. And they've been on there ever since. I've never changed anything, and they just need, it's rough riding now. They just need to.
And I don't know any better. I just think that the Jeep runs that way, but apparently we're going to
lumber wagon.
a lumber wagon.
It's going to ride like a Cadillac.
All right. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, good. Let some air pressure out of the tires. That might help.
So you ordered the springs and brakes just last Wednesday, wasn't it?
Springs and shocks.
Oh, sorry. Springs and shocks.
Yes.
The brakes are okay.
Brakes are okay.
Okay.
For now. We might do an episode later of the brakes.
Okay.
But springs and shocks, yeah. Ordered Rough Country 2.5-inch lift. It came with springs and shocks. I do currently have a 3-inch lift on there, so that's not much difference. And Jeep has got tall with all the stuff that we have on top of it. So a 1/2 inch lower might be just fine.
Yes. My step stool may be more effective.
Yeah, your heights.
And where did you say you got the springs and shocks?
Rough Country.
Rough
Country suspension systems. I think they're out of, I want to say Tennessee, actually. We might pass them on the way there.
We'll wave at them.
Yeah. Hello.
We ordered them Wednesday. Kind of a little panic because we had them shipped to our farmhouse.
We got to thinking, when are we really leaving?
Yeah.
Crap, we better order these now if I want to stick them on before we go.
Exactly. So we had them come
Wednesday night we ordered them.
And they came while we were gone Saturday.
Early afternoon.
To the house in the country. Actually, not the house, the RV.
RV in the country.
And so you're super delighted about that.
I'll be more super delighted when they're on.
That's
I still
true.
yet to stick them on.
I'm thinking that's a job for you and your dad.
Oh, well, good.
And
it's supposed to rain.
Yeah.
We got a whole week worth of getting stuff ready still.
Yes.
We leave a week from tomorrow.
Yes. The 25th.
Fifth.
And I cannot believe it. That it's like we said at the beginning, it's been a whirlwind. And now we're a little, not panicked, but we've just got a lot to do. And we have this checklist that we made, or you made, in Excel. My mom was teasing us because she's like, well, do you have this in Excel? And I said, as a matter of fact, yes. Yes, we do.
You can say Robert did that.
Robert did that. Back in June, I want to say, May or June, you started that for our
Tennessee trip.
And we got back from Dixon earlier today.
Today is actually Sunday.
This podcast will publish on Monday.
Tomorrow.
And we got back, and it's like, you know what? We need to leave for Springfield so that we can get some business taken care of.
Yes.
And you can fix the Jeep's springs and shocks. And we just do some of this last minute stuff. But for our business, I've just have several appointments that we just need to take care of before we go, and some projects that I'd like to have behind us. And so we got back from Dixon and looked around the RV, and it's like, we better pack.
We need to pack now.
Got that checklist out and started going through boxes and trying to check mark what we already have, and that just didn't work well. I kind of got grumpy.
Yeah, you did. You threw your stuff down and said, we need to change this.
So I made a new tab, and what we did was we have storage containers, like a army green one and then a black one, but they're nice totes, and the army green one has a lot of miscellaneous
keep stuff in there like
necessity stuff.
Coolant, oil, transmission fluid, jumper cables, first aid kit, bug spray, Anderson power pole connectors, fuses.
Just a whole... and so he started listing out what was in there, and then we kept adding to it, and I just had it on the Excel spreadsheet.
Yep.
And then we have a tote for our kitchen, and we listed what we needed in there and what was already in there. And then we have a little a shoebox size for easy accessible ham radio stuff.
Yep, stuff to swap out antennas on the fly.
And the black big tote is for our clothes, and I am about to do that.
Yep.
And then what we'll do is cross-reference that list to our list that we did earlier in the year, just to see if we're missing anything, because then we'll just take both of our vehicles to Springfield, and we are super lucky to have such great parents to kind of oversee things while we're gone.
Yes.
And take care of the RV and make sure nothing happens to stuff, and our little wiener dogs.
Yep, the grand dogs.
Yes. My mom really likes the grand dogs.
They're going to be heavier by the time we get back.
Yeah, that's true. But it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
And so we have been working all afternoon just pulling things out and trying to put things where they need to be. And the RV is a mess.
It is a mess.
I've got to organize it before we leave because I hate coming back home to a horrible mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sit there and
Just
sigh.
just look at it, and we've got to do some cleaning.
You know, can we just sell this and get a clean RV?
Buying a clean RV might be more costly.
That may be true.
Yeah. House is dirty, just sell it.
Just sell it.
Start over.
Some other things that you have done to prepare was a few things with Anderson power poles.
Yes, I wanted to redo the solar setup a little bit. Have some extra, I guess you'd call them extensions, where I could put the solar way out there so it could be in the sun and we could park in the nice, cool shade.
Yeah, that's nice.
That way, the solar's doing its thing, 30 foot out, and I could have multiple panels if I wanted to hook multiple ones up and make a couple Y connectors and have the refrigerator going off of one that you need to have off of, and the inverter going off another one.
If everything was plugged into Anderson power poles, I think you would be happy.
Oh, yes, I like them.
You do everything. Everything. You
Yep.
cut off the plug and put an Anderson
That's
pole on
right. Quick connect. Bam. There it is.
there. And there's only one way to plug it in.
That's right. You can
Match the
try
colors.
match the color, unless you're colorblind. Only see in black and white, and it's only gray and black.
Another big thing that you were delighted about was you were having a lot of RF in your ham radio.
Yes, I was getting radio interference, and it was not good. And I've been running the radio off of our solar batteries, just because when we're stopped, I didn't want to have to worry about draining the main battery down. So I switched it around from the solar batteries and hooked it directly to the main starting battery of the Jeep. That took care of everything. Light bulb went off in the head. Hey, dummy, think it's got a better ground now? Yeah,
Oh.
I think it does now. So haven't had any RF issues in the ham radio since. So that's that.
That's that.
That's that.
So are you still worried about it draining down the main battery?
Yeah. So I'll sit there and talk with it running, charge it up. But the main battery you have in there is an Optima yellow top, so it's kind of a hybrid deep cycle / car battery.
Okay.
Not a true deep cycle, but it's a hybrid.
Mm-hmm. Maintenance free?
Maintenance free.
Yeah.
AGM.
That's something that you really like, because our RV batteries, which we have like a cajillion of them, are not maintenance free.
Not a happy camper when I have to check them.
No, because you have to contort underneath the little hood, which I don't even know if that's called a hood or not.
Under the bonnet.
Under the bonnet.
Lift the bonnet and we'll get under the bonnet and check the batteries.
All right. You throw me off all the time.
Well, good.
So, there's something else that we have to do before we leave, because
What's that?
it's on the roof rack and it's on the driver's side. There's no bolts attached to the roof rack to the Jeep. They fell out.
There's two. There's only 2 bolts holding it out of 4. And when I originally installed the roof rack years and years and years ago down in Florida, there's 2 nuts back there that you screw into on the windshield, and they drop down inside there and non-retrievable.
Oh.
So I got to figure out something to sturdy up the roof rack. But for now, it's working. It's supporting the tent and everything. I just feel more comfortable.
And since we moved the tent forward, and it's toward the front instead of the back,
Yeah,
it's separated a little bit more.
just a little bit. So I'm going to have to find a solution. That's what we're all about.
Scrivener Solutions.
and we'll figure that one out and get back with you.
But our virtual assistant company, Scrivener Solutions, does not work on people's Jeeps.
Okay.
Just our own.
Just our own. Okay.
Unless you're going to
But we do find solutions, whether they're right or wrong.
That is true.
We'll find a solution.
That is true. All right.
Are you excited?
I am excited. This is going to be a fantastic trip. I have always wanted to tour around Asheville, North Carolina.
I've never been.
I had lived years ago in near Fort Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
And driving from there back to Missouri to visit family, I really wanted to stop at the Vanderbilt estate, and never have.
I've seen pictures.
Well, I have too. The World Wide Web is full of pictures.
I'd rather be there in person than check it out.
Exactly.
That's why we're going.
And so we've got some projects that we're going to do on the road. We're going to have 2-3-day weekends, though, and travel and then work in between driving and stuff, which is a challenge. We have to time things, and I have to be more organized than I normally am.
Look at the weather.
And look
Is it
at the
going to
weather.
rain? Do we want to dodge the rain? Do we want to just stay put?
Do we have good internet here?
Hey,
Should
we're
we
staying here for a week. We've got great internet.
Stay here for another day, get these projects, and then I don't have to work the following day. So there's just a lot. It's wonderful that we can be so flexible, but there's certainly challenges when you're traveling and have to kind of stress out when will I have internet, and timing it, because we can always use internet at restaurants or coffee shops or what have you.
Yeah.
But they frown on us if we're there for like 4 hours.
Freeloading internet.
And sometimes that internet's not that great.
No, it's slow.
There's some coffee shops that I just can't stand to go to because their internet is, well, they power it back for 30 minutes, but because they don't want you there very long, and I understand that.
Yep.
And that's just them doing their business, so that's fine. Well, I think that it's probably time that we wrap this podcast up.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up, because I need to,
we need to sort out clothes, get our clothes ready, and finish packing.
And clean this place.
Oh, yes, we do have to clean it since you don't want to sell it yet.
Yeah, well, I do want to sell it because I want something smaller.
Yep.
But that means that we need to sell stuff, too.
Yeah, we're going to downsize eventually, even smaller.
Exactly, because I really do like being able to travel on roads that this big beast doesn't go.
Yeah, this 38-foot Class A diesel pusher is just too big.
I think we figured out that we're not, although RVing is a great lifestyle, I think we figured out that we like the overlanding a little bit better.
Yeah, it's getting away from the beaten path and off the beaten road, and sometimes no roads at all.
Oh, on our way back from Dixon, we took a road that we've never taken before.
We hit 7 miles of dirt road.
I know, that kind of surprised us.
It was the shortest route.
And that was fun. So even
it was not the fastest, but it was the shortest.
That was fun though, because even close to home we can find new roads.
Yeah, that was exciting.
And the Jeep did a fantastic job.
Yes, it did. Got us here, get us there, get us back.
Exactly. But guys, I hope that you enjoyed our planning episode for Overland Expo East, and we do hope that you feel free to comment and subscribe. But
suggestions.
Most importantly, if you want to hear about any subject that about our lifestyle or work from anywhere lifestyle, I'd love for you to email us at podcast@beentheredoingthat.com. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right.
Until next time.
Toodaloo.